How's everyone doing?
Great.
Okay, we are going to be recording our 4-point recruiting piece of boot camp. And so this is our 7th session with the boot camp, and we are doing this one live. So I still want you guys to be interactive, ask questions, interject, as long as it has to do with the 4-point recruiting plan or the skincare class. I would like you guys to contribute to this. The 4-point recruiting plan, though, I'm taking a whole session on this, whereas we could have just had it be part of one of the props for the skincare class, or it could have been, a smaller section like deal or no deal. But hopefully that emphasizes to you how important it is. The 4-point recruiting plan, what I see is that people don't work on mastering this or taking it seriously until they have a personal recruiting goal in Mary Kay. Until they're focused on getting their red jacket or on target for their car or getting into director qualification. And, when you think about it, that's kind of selfish to think that we are not really working at sharing business information unless it's benefiting us. And the sad thing is it's always benefiting us, because even from your very first business associate, you're getting compensated 4% from the company. So financially, we're always being compensated for Mary Kay. Also, too, I think that a lot of people have the perspective that you only recruit when you want to become a director. And that is not true. We don't want people to be sales directors who don't want to be sales directors. That's like someone, being a parent who doesn't want to be a parent. That it's not a position that you really want to be in if you don't want to be in it. But in Mary Kay, you can have 30 team members, and the company will pay you commission on them, and your director will train them. She'll be more than happy to train 30 people for you. So, also the third thing, and hopefully the most important thing is that if we're not serious, each of us, about passing this on, anything, they say Christianity is one generation away from being extinct. Mary Kay is one generation away from being the opportunity that it is right now. Because if we don't share this, then Mary Kay could change. If we're not team building and recruiting, Mary Kay corporate could say, well, if they're not team building in the field, then we're going to have to recruit through corporate. Our company, I can't see ever saying that unless recruiting wasn't being done out in the field. And then they'd have to, wouldn't they? I know I don't want that ever to happen. Mary Kay allowed us to be the team builders of this company because she did work for sales companies where you were told who you're working for and what your territory was. And a lot of other direct selling companies that consider themselves our competition do the same. A big one just laid off half of their managers. And so, we had a consultant who was in our area for a few months on target for her car, doing very well, went with this other company because they hired their leadership, to go right into management position. And so she thought that was easier and faster than working her way up the career path like Mary Kay requires. Well, 9 years down the line, the company isn't doing well and they're changing their territories around, so she has no job and no car and no customers because you're done when you're done with the position. And that would never, ever happen with Mary Kay. So, but sharing the opportunity, Mary Kay, I want to make sure that my daughter has this opportunity. I've always shared it because I don't think there's a better opportunity for women out there, but also because Mary Kay asked us to. She, and you guys have heard me share before, when we would thank her, and if she was alive now, if you had the opportunity to thank her for what this business has done for you. Because even if you're not where you'd like to be in this business, don't you agree it's done a lot for you already? A lot more than you could even put words to. So we always wanted to thank her, and the thing that she would say, she'd look into your eyes with those steely blue eyes and pat your hand, and she'd say, pass it on, honey, pass it on. And that, I think Mary Kay is sometimes an interesting business, because any other job that you would take, if someone told you, this is how much money you make and this is what the job description is, would you ever say, I'm not going to do that part of it. I'm just going to do this part over here. You would never do that. You do the whole thing. You maximize your income potential and you do the whole thing. But in Mary Kay, if it's presented to you that those are options, then you may say, well, some people are generally, by gift mix, either more comfortable recruiting or more comfortable selling. That's what I found. One or the other generally comes more naturally to a person, and then the other one you have to work on, because all of us come in with different gifts or talents. I've never seen anyone excel in both of those things from the very beginning naturally. They don't. Everyone has their strengths, and then everyone has their learning curves. And your learning curves you will see at different stages of your business. We always compare ourselves, our weaknesses, to other people's strengths. You'll always be saying, well, she's doing this much better here, this much better here. You're not thinking of, she may be doing something that she's getting a lot of recognition for, but she feels like she's drowning in all the paperwork or the organization or really connecting with people or developing new business that's coming from more of a warm market, and that's something that you're doing very well in, but the results don't show up with as much recognition and pomp and circumstance at this stage of what you're doing. You're at a season where you're digging deep roots, and it's going to be like that Chinese bamboo tree that, digs roots for years and years, and all of a sudden it sprouts up 11 feet in, a couple of days. So everyone's going to come in generally with strengths either in the recruiting or the selling. So if it's in the selling, you don't recruit, and if it's in the recruiting, you don't sell. And neither of those is good, and neither of those is how Mary Kay taught us to do it. In my 23 years, I've seen us pendulum shift from doing this business together, selling and recruiting together. Like it was never an option to me if I was going to recruit or not. It was part of what you did. That's part of what Debbie Moore showed me that you just did with your business. If you didn't want to become a sales director, that's fine. Is there anyone here that would say, I'm not going to take a free car if they'll give it to me? No. I have never heard anyone say, if you have a lease you can't get out of, you'll take the cash. I've never seen anyone say, oh no, we're all set on cash, we're all set on cars. Don't need any more of those. So that I've never seen anyone turn down. So if the recruiting's going to generate that, it was all presented to me as one. And then for some reason it got separated. The recruiting was done separate from sales. With the advent, I'm teaching this at a training center, and so you guys see recruiting done while you're being trained and while someone else is selling the product, and sometimes that's a disservice for you, because that's not the traditional, you go out in the field, do the 4-point recruiting plan at a class and recruit people that then start to book classes. Because if people come here as a face model, they're really not even seeing a traditional skincare class. They're seeing what the hostess does. And then we have to tell them, well, this is an additional way to build your business, but this is not the mainstay of your business. You want, as many people out in the field doing skincare classes in your unit as you do people who are bringing guests and building their business through a meeting and event. Does that make sense? So we have, with a lot of events that are big and powerful, and we love them. People will save their guests for those type of things. They do recruiting. Technology has allowed us to do, and we use the marketing hotline and CDs. We didn't have any of that stuff when I started. We had nothing. Like, you had to be in front of a real live person or you weren't getting it. We didn't have three-way calling. We didn't have, I think it was like we didn't use any VCRs. We didn't use 8 tracks for anything. Everything was with people. Like, it was happening at a facial or a class or over coffee to talk about the opportunity. That was it. It was real live. And there are some benefits to that. You can move so much faster now because technology allows you to get this information out to more people faster. But if you rely on it as a crutch, you may have more people, but they're weaker. Does that make sense?
Right.
So what I want to make sure with this piece is that when you are in front of people, sharing the products with them, that you are equipped to do the 4-point recruiting plan, how Mary Kay had it designed. Something, too, that we were taught, and this was a perfect timing that I heard this story. At classes, you will hear people do marketing to everyone at the class. It's not an option. The 4-part recruiting plan isn't an interview with everyone at the class, and it's not explaining really the whole business to everyone. You're going to see what, constitutes a 4-point recruiting plan. It's doing some marketing information so that you can get some feedback from people so you know who to pick out to talk to about the opportunity. Whereas now, I see people do marketing with everyone, and a couple things happen with that, is that when you pick people out, a couple reasons why I think my business was easier to build than what I see some people doing now, is that when I talked to someone, I didn't bring up the Mary Kay opportunity unless I connected with them about something else. And so there was already a connection. So then I would have a higher percentage of yeses and a higher percentage of people that actually sat down, because I'm asking them to be a face model, and we'd already connected, so it meant something to them versus a random person just walking up and asking them to be a face model. Also with the opportunity, with the 4-point recruiting plan, you're taught to pick 1 or 2 people out at every class to offer information to about the business. And when you pick someone, what does it do for them? It makes them, how does it make you feel when you're picked? Special. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I was growing up in gym class. Do you guys remember this? It's probably against the law now, because seriously, I mean, I don't know, maybe I should still go through therapy for it, but you remember when they'd have all the line in gym class and the 2 captains, and then they pick the people? I was always last. Always last. And so, being picked, I mean, and it's stupid. It's about some, Chinese soccer that you're, on the ground, in a 3rd grade gym class. But those little things, really stand out to someone. So when you pick those 1 or 2 people. And so at a event we had last week, Diane Probin was talking about, she's a sales director here at the center, and she was saying that after a skincare class, there was all sharp. She said all the women were sharp, sales were great, really liked them, but there was this one woman she really connected with. And she was like, I couldn't exactly put my finger on what it was, but I just connected with her. Some people will call it intuition, Holy Spirit, whatever you call it, just connected with her. And so she's the one, after she closed the class, she said, I always pick out 1 or 2 people at every class I most like to work with. And Dawn, at this class, it's you, and this is why. Can I give you some information to take home, and can I give you a call? Well, she had invited her to the event last week, and the woman couldn't come, and Diane said, I still want to talk to you about the information about the business. She goes, you know what? I'm really excited to talk to you. And Diane said, why? And she goes, at first I thought that you probably asked all my friends too, that you probably said the same thing to all of us. She goes, but I asked my friends, have you talked to them? She goes, you didn't talk to them. She goes, I really want to talk to you. I just went, oh, God's timing's perfect, isn't it? As I was leading up to, because that is something that, has gotten clearer and clearer to me. Mary Kay's wisdom was wisdom. I mean, it's timeless. And so we've tried to think that, okay, well, let's just give it out generically to everyone and throw the more spaghetti we throw against the wall, the more is going to stick. Right. But can you see how that's not necessarily the case? Mary Kay's whole thing was making people feel important and special and connecting with them. And so, in recruiting, at classes, and just when you're, at facials, and when you're out at, the ballpark, or you're doing social things, those people that you connect with, and you just go, oh my gosh, I think she'd be great at this. There's a reason for that, versus thinking, I got to tell everyone about everything because I just got to talk to all these numbers. You're better off to be talking to less people, but the right people. And not the right people, that there's right and wrong people at Mary Kay, because, the right people is what's inside of them, and we can't tell that from the outside. So I don't want you to misinterpret, they look a certain way or they act a certain way. You just know. I mean, there's people that you just go, they're supposed to be in this with me. And sometimes you'll get to the point where you go, I can't even explain this, but you just have to listen to this, really. For $100, it's going to be worth walking it out. It really is. You just need to give it a shot. So with the 4-point recruiting plan, I'm hoping that I'm raising an awareness that you don't just do this when you have a goal to reach. It's part of your job. It's part of what Mary Kay is expecting from us. And it's part of what's required if this company is going to continue on. And then last but not least, in this economy, if you are not talking about what this company has to offer and what this business has done for you at your appointments, you're nuts. You're stupid, you're crazy, you are spending far too much time in your business than you need to, because at every single one of those appointments, I guarantee you, there's someone sitting there that could use extra money or flexibility or knows someone that does. You guys, and this economy it's not going to change. We're doing this in, June of 2009. So it's going to take a while for us to get on the other side of this economy. This is a good economy to be talking about this opportunity. So the more people that you're in front of with the products sharing this, the more team members you're going to have. Whereas some people think, I don't even have enough time to do my appointments. How am I going to add on all these interviews? And that you're separating the activities. The selling is separate from the recruiting. It's not. It's all done together. Okay? Pre-4-point recruiting plan. What would you think that some pre-4-point recruiting plan items would be? What do you do before you're actually at the class? Coaching. So you can do pre-4-point recruiting with the hostess because you're connecting with her, aren't you? What do you do? Do you like it? What do you like about it? I love asking people, what do you like about your job? And if you could change anything, what would it be? Because if they say everything, I was talking to a guest on Thursday after our event, and she said, I'm really thinking about it. And I go, why not? Like, what do you have to lose? And she said, well, that's what I'm kind of thinking about. And I said, do you have another job? Yes, I have 2 of them. Do you like them? And she goes, no. She goes, it's just to pay the bills. And she said, yeah. She goes, actually, it kind of sucks. And I go, okay, wow. Well, you know what? Even on my worst day, I never say that my Mary Kay business kind of sucks. Like, it never kind of sucks at all. It could be frustrating. I could be in a learning curve season, but I will never tell you at any stage of my business that it kind of sucks. So if there's something that kind of sucks about your job at all, you need to give this a shot, because it is a really nice way to live that you can say with your job, do you agree with me, Joyce? Even during times where you're not going, oh, everything's going my way and everything's great, that is not something that we say about our business, because we can change it, can't we? Mm-hmm. The reason people say that is because they can't change it. Right. That's just part of the job, and maybe it does suck, and they can't do anything about it. So, this is with the hostess and with guests. I always like to ask, what do you like best, and what would you change? Because if you can find out what they want to change, that just gives you a little bit of information to tuck away. And with your guests, when you're pre-profiling them, ask them, what do you do? What do you love about it? What do you want to change? What could you change? You don't have to go into a full-blown recruiting interview right there. Obviously, if they start asking you what you do, answer the questions. But right now, you're like on an information gathering. You're trying to figure out, who are the people that I want to, it's like pre-interviewing. Who are the people that I'm going to want to pick out at the end of the class? This is what you're trying to figure out. 4-point recruiting plan. What is the first point of the 4-point recruiting plan? And this always concerns me, the events that I've done in the last couple years, when we ask, who knows the 4-point recruiting plan? The number of people that do is minimal. Pre-profiling and the 4-point recruiting plan are becoming things that consultants don't own. Pre-profiling you used to have to do, because with all the formulas we had, it was like a experimental case when you open it up. 5 different cleansers, and it could take you an hour to set up a class for 6 people with all the different possibilities they could have. So pre-profiling was almost mandatory unless you wanted to do an hour setup for a class. Well, now time-wise, you can just squirt it in the tray. It's which one are they going to have, one or the other. So you don't have to pre-profile as much, but that's not the whole point of pre-profiling. That's just a small portion of the point. The 4-point recruiting plan, again, if people weren't interested in team building, then they just totally negated this whole part. Or they felt like until I'm good at the skincare class, I can't work on the 4-point recruiting plan. Can you see how you'd be better off to be minimally good at the selling and the recruiting all at the same time and allow those skills to grow equally while you're doing your activity versus waiting until you get your skincare class set and then you're going to add the 4-point recruiting plan into something that you already have a rhythm with and you've practiced. You're better off from the very beginning. And if you have been doing classes without the 4-point recruiting plan, it's going to feel uncomfortable to go back and do it. But until you start going back to do it, it'll never feel comfortable. It's going to have to get uncomfortable to get comfortable. So what's the first step of the 4-point recruiting plan?
Ask the hostess who's coming, who might be interested in what I'm doing.
Good. You guys are making me happy right now. So who's coming that would be good at doing what I do? You can ask this in a coaching conversation. You can ask this when you get to our house. Another way that you could say that, because sometimes they're like, oh, I don't really know, because I think they feel like they're going to obligate their friend. So I'll ask, of all your friends that are coming, if they all decided to start Mary Kay businesses, who do you think would be the best? And she's like, oh, sometimes that's just a switch, a paradigm shift to them that allows them to think of it a different way versus just a block like, I'm not going to tell her she would be good even though she needs the money because I don't want her to call and my friend's going to be mad, la, la, la. So who do you, if everyone here signed up, everyone became a consultant and started a Mary Kay business, who do you think would be the best and why? You know, that's always very interesting when we do like a grand opening or a debut for a new consultant and you have her family and friends share, why do you think that she would be good at this business? They share stuff that, you know, you wouldn't naturally just know, and sometimes, you know, it just confirms it or affirms it for that new person. But that hostess, she knows these people she's inviting. So she's actually, again, she's giving you more clues of who to pick out to talk to. What's the second part?
What about you?
That
your I story.
Yes, it's actually your I story. You do want to ask your hostess, what about you? I think it's probably most effective you could plant the seed there and do a little ask there, but you may want to wait till the end and see after she's seen a whole class and she's seen it, you do it. Then I think the class can overcome her objections because ask her in the front, it could go either way. It could either go, then she starts to think about it and you've planted a seed, or she just thinks through the whole class of all the objections of why not. And that's what she spends doing during the class versus being open to, you know, absorbing what's going on, how much her friends are liking it, the whole atmosphere. You know, it's just like in the beginning of my career, I was so excited about this business. You know, if you guys can believe it. Just so excited that I just thought everyone would want to be a Mary Kay consultant. Like I was sure that the reason that all my friends and family had not become Mary Kay consultants is because they hadn't heard about it. Like I couldn't believe this was just like the best news in the world. And it was disappointing and frustrating and shocking that such a small majority of them even thought that it was a remotely good idea that I was doing this, or an okay or average idea. But I really thought everyone should be doing this business. And so when someone told me, you know, if I knew them and I thought they'd be great, oh my gosh, you'd be so good at Mary Kay, and I'm just like telling them the whole thing from start to finish, just like, wah, all over them, the whole thing. Or if someone said the remote showed like the little bit of interest, just opened the door up at all, I was just like storming through it. Just like one of my consultants told me one time, she goes, you used to be like a bull in a china shop. I'm like, that's probably a good description. Because I would just, if the door was open a little bit, it's like, oh my gosh, you're absolutely right. Well, what I found is that people started to make a decision about it without all the information. Whereas if I could get a CD in their hand, or if I could get them to come and be a face model for me and just ask them to be a face model, and then even though I want to say, because I think you'd be really good at the business, and I just go, don't say anything. This is what you're doing, and this is what you need to do. And just invite them to come and have a facial. Whether they were coming to a meeting, if it was just coming over to my house to have a facial, I was going to their house, they were going to be a hostess. I wanted to get them in front of the product. with the product and an atmosphere, and then start to ask questions about how do you like your job and what do you like about it and what don't you like about it, because then they were opened up and I could then just deposit the information and they were like making the decision themselves. They were asking questions versus me just pushing and they were backing up. They were walking through and asking the questions. Okay? So with the hostess, I'm always wonder, is she going to sit through the whole class and go, I couldn't do this because I can't sell anything? Well, it has nothing to do with her, and she may have a different personality than you, and she's seeing you and she's thinking, but once they see that you read the flip chart and people have sales and they buy stuff and they like it, then the class overcomes and the products overcome all those objectives versus her having that block to start with. So you could, it just depends on how the conversation's going. But if you're not really sure, I would wait until the end. So the second thing is your I story. And on your flip chart, because we've been talking about using your flip chart, this on page 4 of your flip chart, it's talking about your I story and what you offer customers. Now on Mary Kay in Touch, there's a section that you can construct your own I story. It's like an interactive thing to do your I story. So if you haven't done that, feel free to go ahead and do that. I'm going to share with you an idea that came via Senior National Sales Director Kathy Halou. And she shared that a couple years ago, she really made a concentrated effort on making sure that her whole area was equipped to share their before, their now, and their future Mary Kay story. Because you think of, how much women love stories. Really, we love romance novels. We love movies that, get you emotionally. We love life stories. We love stories. At Mary Kay, we love I stories. A seminar and career conferences, you love the stories. Well, you don't want to take the whole 20 or 30 minutes at your class to do your story, but you want to be prepared with your before, your now, and your future story, so at a class, you can share that. Where it says I story, I want you to cross off I story on your flip chart and write, and that's page 4, before, now, and future story. You still read what's on the flip chart. I don't want you leaving that out, but it says, I was excited about this opportunity because, and it says tell your I story. So instead of I story, it's your before, your now, and your future. And you guys, your story is your story, and obviously, a class that you're sitting at all with stay-at-home moms, you may focus on a little different thing than if you're going into a corporation and doing a lunchtime facial with, all attorneys who are in their 20s and not married. So you're going to tweak it a little bit for the audience that you're at and what would appeal to them. But you could, make a little before, now, and future, the things that you want to make sure that you hit on, and it's to be no more than 2 minutes. And practice it so that you don't only have that prepared to do at your facials and classes when you have your flip chart, but if you're sitting, at a wedding reception and someone says, so what do? You guys, really, I just had this experience at an event, and a couple of my consultants were there, and it was interesting to see when people were asking them, what do you do? I could tell the ones who are really serious about their business, because immediately the first thing they said was, I'm, building a Mary Kay business, I'm working to earn a car. They went right into it. Whereas the ones that aren't that comfortable yet that they're in the business, they listed first what ounce they did. I do work at this place. And then maybe they were in Mary Kay. Oh, it took everything I could say. Are they going to give you a free car? Do you have job security there? Are they going to? I didn't say anything. But wherever you're at, because again, in this economic climate, people are looking for opportunities like Mary Kay. And wouldn't it be sad if someone asked, what do you do? And Nell says, oh, I'm a banker. And I'm sure people are flocking to banks to want jobs right now. So, and then Nell sees this person at the meeting signing up saying, oh my gosh, I was so, I was looking for an opportunity and I didn't know that you were in Mary Kay. Oh, well, we never got to that. The other jobs, unless you're hiring and it's your company, why does it matter, really, that you're a teacher or, work at this insurance company or the other things that you do? Because you getting someone else a job there, does it help your job? No. It may hurt your job, and in this economy, you probably can't get them a job. So unless it's, that is going to benefit you and your family, I would not have that other job be in the top of the list, even if it's what's paying the bills now. Do you get what I'm saying? So on page 4, where it's talking about your I-story, I want to give you guys a couple of examples of a before, a now, and a future story. Because in our Go Director Faster program, we have a couple consultants who have been working on this. So I'm going to have them pop up and share, just like they were at a class. Who wants to go first? Okay, Tracy wants to do it. She wants to get it over with. So Tracy Horn is going to share. So you're at a skincare class, and you're on page 4. So will you just share what you would share with everyone?
Hi, my name is Tracy Horn, and prior to Mary Kay, I was a full-time wife and stay-at-home mom of 3 young children, ages 2, 5, and 7. I was college educated, but my job was of my choice to stay home and be able to be there to get my children off to school, walk them home from school, be there when they got sick and when they didn't have school. However, I knew that one day when all 3 of my children went to school full-time that I would need to go back to school myself to further educate myself and try and find a job that would still allow me to maintain the lifestyle that I wanted.
Good.
Okay. So anyways, I've been in Mary Kay for 10 months. And I feel I was God-led to Mary Kay. My husband was permanently laid off 7 weeks ago, and with no sales quota or time quota in Mary Kay, this has allowed me to be there for my family full-time as I want, to be there with my children, and not have to pay thousands of dollars to go back to college and try and find a job and work the hours that they dictated for me while providing an income for my family. What I'm most excited about right now is earning a free Mary Kay car and going into director and qualification. In Mary Kay, the possibilities are endless.
Perfect. Okay, give her a hand. Teresa. And you guys, there's nothing wrong with, Tracy glanced at her notes during it. It's fine. Actually, read your notes. It's absolutely fine. It's just like we were talking about with the flip chart. When you are at your class, if people think that they have to be this polished, perfect performance, they're going to be scared to try this. And it's not. So, jot down the notes on it, and if you get nervous, you'll probably be less nervous at a class than you will here, sitting in front of, 20 of your peers and being taped is a little bit more nerve-wracking than when you're at a class. It's a little bit more laid-back environment. And, really, we know Tracy's story. So she says, yes, I was an acrobat in the circus. We're going to say, she's lying. That's not true. But at a class, really, unless you say a blatant lie, you can go, that's a lie. Sometimes I've said something like, where did that come from? It is not true at all. But, it may not be the most perfect rendition of your before, now, and after, but they don't know what it is. And really, you guys, considering how negative and unfortunate all the news is, any before, now, and future story you tell Mary Kay is going to be so exciting and fun compared to the news that they are getting on a regular basis. Okay, let's hear another one. This is Teresa Junta. Almost 10 days from being a sales director.
Well, hi, you guys. My name is Teresa Junta, and I've been building my Mary Kay business for 3.5 years, and it is an absolute blast, so I'm excited to have an opportunity to share with you today. Prior to Mary Kay, I was working as a transplant coordinator at U of M Hospital, and though I loved my job, have always had positions where I've been in helping jobs. I was a social worker prior to that, have a psych degree, trained in social work, so it's always been my orientation to kind of develop other people. But as much as I love my job owned me. My husband is an engineer with Ford, working 60-plus hours per week. At the time, I was also working 60-plus hours a week. And when I was introduced to the business, we had a 5.5-year-old at home and a 4-month-old. So we needed to really kind of make some major lifestyle changes to be able to just survive as a family. We were total victims of corporate burnout and really kind of family burnout at that point. So although I'd never been willing to listen to the Mary Kay business plan prior to my needing a huge lifestyle change, I decided to give it a shot because nothing I could find on my own offered me the flexibility or the money that I wanted. And, prior to my lifestyle needing a major change, I always thought of Mary Kay as something that kind of bored housewives did for just a little bit of fun, a little bit of money. And I was definitely a career woman, so that didn't appeal to me at all. So I listened regardless and was just captivated by everything that I heard. I had seen women who had anywhere from a GED education all the way through MDs and PhDs and thought, you know what, I'm scared. This is something I've never, considered doing before. I grew up as an abused child, so fear is something I was very, very comfortable with and knew well, so I thought I'm just going to give it a shot anyway. We'll see what I can do with this. So, as I said, my husband's an automotive engineer, so in August of last year, we decided to pick up the pace of my business. I started working 10 to 15 hours a week and earned my first car in 3 months, which is so exciting. And from there, moved on to director qualification, which probably doesn't mean a whole lot to you. But what that means is I'm in an executive management training program right now with Mary Kay that will allow me to triple, if not quadruple, my income when it's finished in 10 days. So I'm super excited about that. But I think what I'm most excited about for the future is just passing this opportunity on to other women, helping them enrich their lives, giving them an opportunity to kind of design the lifestyle that they so richly deserve and so much want.
Give her a hand. Yes. And that we'll have our other DIQ, Missy, an on-target car. Want to hold it?
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, I'm
Yeah.
Missy Van Capanoli, and prior to Mary Kay, I am a registered dietitian, and I've been running my own consulting business for the last 10 years, which it has been successful. I was brought into Mary Kay as a face model. One of the directors of nurses asked me to come in, so I came in, and I fell in love with the product. She asked me if I wanted to sign up, and I'm like, no, I just want to use the product. So I did buy the Miracle Set, and about a month later I came back, and I needed an update with my color, and then I was going to buy a compact. And then she suggested that I sign up so I can get things at 50% off. So then I actually signed up. I met with the director. We went through, some of the training, and there I saw the opportunity for the business, and so I was on board for the business. And so now I'm actually in my third month of car qualification, first month of director in qualification, and it's really been exciting. I think my calling is to help other people, because the field I work in, I see a lot of people that are not appreciated, not respected. Some of them are, taking on 2 jobs to make salary, and they're not having much flexibility. So I feel my calling is to help others, to show them the opportunity, and I'm having a lot of fun doing it.
Thank you. So I want to give you guys an assignment. I want you to write out your before, your now, and your future Mary Kay story, and I want you to call that to your director's voicemail sometime in the next couple days. And she may have no idea what you're talking about. I mean, if you're in my area, our directors all know what we're talking about, but if you're listening to this at a later date, say, this is what I'm going to be sharing at my classes. It should be no more than 2 minutes long, your before, your now, and your future story. Because she can tell you if there's anything in there, a couple tips, something as I've been listening to them. You heard these women talk about director in qualification. I have shared with them, you definitely want to talk about car. Because cars right now in this economy are a very desirable thing. People not having a car payment and 85% of your insurance being paid for. So if you're working to earn a car, that a car is a possibility in your future, that I would definitely throw in. Extra income, Mary Kay, some of our ads are going to start to talk about 50% in the hostess brochure, 50%, which we've not done in brochures before, but we're going to start doing that because we're the highest paid direct sales people in the industry, and people are looking at direct sales, and they're doing comparative shopping. So those are things that make a difference. I think sometimes people think that, well, I just got started, or I haven't done that much. The fact of the matter is, you are not selling your opportunity. You are selling Mary Kay's opportunity. What Mary Kay can offer that woman. Because she may decide to do something totally different from what you're doing with this. So you're a professional recruiter with Mary Kay Cosmetics when you are at your classes. So those are the things right now that people's cost of living has gone up. unemployment's gone up, but still, even if people have their jobs, which the majority still have their jobs, even at, a 14% unemployment rate, the cost of living has gone up. So, talking about the extra money that it can generate, the amount of time that takes you, the cars, the family security program, the ability to have a company-sponsored retirement program, those are the kind of things that are catching people's ears. So I want you to leave that on your director's machine, your before, your now, and your future story. I still want you to do everything on page 4 that the company suggests. There is something on here that I want you to add, and something that Mary Kay taught us in our original skincare classes. After you've shared, your before, your now, and your future story, I want you to say, Mary Kay taught us that there's a brand new Mary Kay consultant at every skincare class, or if it's just a facial at every appointment. I wonder who it's going to be at this one. And then you're quiet, and then you look at each of them in the eye, and they start to tell on each other. Because they're sitting around with their sisters, their sister-in-law, their neighbors, their friends. They'll give you, again, more clues that help you pick out who are those 2 people, 1 to 2 people you're going to pick out to share information with about the business. I want you to add that. Because, again, the longer I'm in this, the more I go back to Mary Kay's traditional wisdom. Okay? So you're going to say, after you get done with your before, your now, your future story, at every skincare class, /facial/appointment. And it's fun when it's just one person. I go, well, looks like it's going to be you. Wonder who it's going to be at this one. At every skincare class, there's a brand new Mary Kay consultant. Mary Kay told us, I wonder who it's going to be at this one. And then give them time to kind of look at each other and converse, and they'll go, you've been looking for extra money, or, you'd be good at this, you know a lot of people, or you're always doing our makeup before we go out. They will tell you those things. Another thing to add on this page, which is actually the 3rd point of the 4-point recruiting plan, is offering them an incentive to give you referrals. So you need to add on where it says I story. That's going to be your before, your now, your future. You're going to add on what Mary Kay said about there being a new consultant every appointment. I wonder who it's going to be at this one. And then you're going to say, watch what I do. And if this is something you're interested in, I'll be happy to give you more information. But if not, I would love for you to be a talent scout for me. And what that means is I will give you blank for you, and the blank could be, I always say $50 in free product. I mean, honestly, I've given away very few $50 in free products in my career, but $50 in free product is enough to make them listen, and enough to make them want to maybe think of someone who may be interested in doing this business, or this may be appropriate for. So I will give you $50 in product for every woman you refer to me that becomes a consultant on my team. And, obviously there's a huge need in the Detroit area right now, but we have no territories. So they can be anywhere in the United States. So that's the 3rd point of the 4-point recruiting plan, is offering an incentive for them to give you referrals. Because then at the end, when we're doing our closing, you pick 1 or 2 people out to ask, but then everyone else you're saying, who do you know that you think needs to hear this information? You can get referrals then from them because you've asked that. And you've planted that seed. And it is happening now. I mean, I'm hearing, in the last week, I've heard of 3 or 4 of our consultants and directors that have new recruits, and they're not in the same, they're in different states, different cities, but they're referrals. It's a mom referring a daughter in Texas. It's a friend referring someone in Minnesota. It's someone referring someone, on the other side of town. They're referrals. But if you don't put this out there, you're not going to get the referrals. The 4th point of the 4-point recruiting plan then is to pick those 2 people when you do your individual consultation, and next week we're working on closing, and we're going to do a table close, we're going to do an individual close, and then I'm going to overcome objections, and we're going to pull that all apart. But first you close out the product sale, then you rebook the appointment, and then you pick out the 1 or 2 people that you'd most like to work with based on all the information that you've gotten. And so Teresa, at this class, I know that you said that your husband's in the auto industry. That's a huge red flag to me, and that, what you do was getting a little stressful with raising the kids. Just knowing what your skills are, in what you love and what the balance you're looking for, and also to have something that can maybe fill in with what, your husband does. If I gave you some more information to listen to or look at, would you, and could I follow up with you tomorrow and just see if this is anything that you'd ever consider for yourself?
Yeah, I guess that'd be okay.
What would be easier, to listen to a CD, a DVD, or a phone line that's like 29 minutes long?
Probably a CD.
A CD. Okay, great. So you tell her, what did you hear? What did you like about her? And women know if you're genuine. Like, don't be a nervous wreck and make something up that's not true. Just tell her the truth. Really, just tell her the truth about what you heard and why you think this could serve her, or why she could serve us and Mary Kay and serve our mission. And then be prepared. You want recruiting information with you, a recruiting packet that has a piece of company information that could be printed off. It could be at a glance. It's printed off of In Touch. Or it could be the company has on Section 2 lots of brochures that you can buy, but don't say, oh, I can't do any recruiting packets because I have an order coming in from the company. So just print off at a glance or something from In Touch. There's on my website tons of, how we make our money, something that shows avenues of income. Okay? And then I like them to see, because they'll say, well, what comes in a showcase? So this is the two-sided piece of paper. This is on my website that shows them everything that comes in their showcase, plus an agreement. And then they all have the little cards that have our marketing hotline in it. Those are also available on my UnitNet site. People in my area, I like you guys to use our marketing hotline. And I like you to use our What Do You Have to Lose CDs. Because then if the people sign up or they're on a marketing call, they recognize my voice, they recognize the story. And I believe that, God collects his people under leadership for a reason. If people are listening to this, though, and you have a different director and different national, you want to use their recruiting information for exactly the same reasons. And then because there's people who don't have nationals, the company has an awesome DVD and an awesome team building. So there's no one that's left out. But have it with you. The CD, if people are driving in cars they can listen to, or the phone line, that's probably the two most popular. DVD seems to be helpful if someone has a husband, and those you get from the company. The DVD, they're like, $5 a piece on Section 2. So you have those, you give them to her, and you set up a time to follow up with her the next day within 24 hours, preferably in person. And preferably in 24 hours. If you can't, 48 hours. If you are a new consultant and feel ill-equipped at this, after you set it up, call your director and say, okay, what do I do now? And she's either going to be there with you on the phone or she's going to walk you through it, one or the other. And don't think that if she can't be there, that you can't do it on your own, because it's how you learn. It's the same thing with skincare. There's really, again, unless you're going to go out there and flat out lie, you can't do anything that's wrong. You really can't. And so 1 out of 5 people sign up, and very frequently it's a person you don't expect. And so it's not necessarily because of the skill of the person. If you get to a point that, you feel that it's overcoming objection skill, your director can pick up the phone afterwards and call her. That's absolutely fine. At a class, you are giving out marketing information. At an interview, you're closing the deal. It's like at a skincare class, you present the products, but at the individual consultation, you're saying which set's best for you. So when we talk about recruiting is not doing the 4-point recruiting plan. The 4-point recruiting plan is marketing. My Recruiting 1 CD details that. If you don't have that, ask your director. She can get your hands on it for you. Recruiting 1 goes through the difference between an interview and marketing. And then Recruiting 2 CD goes over overcoming objections, which, again, you start to get better and better at after you do them. And then 3 is explaining inventory, which that's not something you're going to be doing until you're, into your recruiting and getting on target for car or DIQ. A couple other props that you may want to have with you at classes. I like to have on our UnitNet site under recruiting, I'd love your opinion form. I like them to fill these out while I'm doing the individual consultations because it gives me some more feedback in case I've missed something. And if they bring this to their individual consultation, if they've signed a 4, then I'm going to give her a recruiting packet. I'm not going to say, oh, yeah, you weren't the person I was going to talk to, but I'll give it to you anyways. I mean, if she's checked a 4 and she wants more information, I'm going to give her the information and set up a time to follow up with her. So it tells, I like the information that this gets from your guest. Also, too, something that we've talked about in the other boot camps is giving tickets out for them asking questions and then doing a speed round. At the very end, after you tell them how the products have come, just saying, okay, what I want to do is just spend 1 minute, 2 minutes, and give you double tickets. So double chances to win the door prize. Any questions that have to do with the business. Because in this market, so many people are looking for opportunities, and I want you to be an educated talent scout so you can get multiple $50 in free products from me over this next year. So what if I haven't answered, or what would you be curious about, that has to do with the Mary Kay business, and give double tickets out, do a speed round real fast? Again, those questions, it helps make the whole class interactive. With the speed round, it's going to give you a few more clues of who to possibly pick out at the end. Okay? So those are some props that you'd want to go to the class prepared for. And then know that in individual consultation, if people are asking you a lot of questions about the opportunity, say, you know what, everything is in here. What I'm going to do is give this to you, and I'm going to finish closing out the class because some of the people have to leave. And then if we don't have time to talk about that tonight, we will cover it tomorrow. I promise you. Because if she's interested and has questions, you got to give her information to take home so she doesn't go home and ask her husband if she should do Mary Kay or not. And unless he's successfully built a Mary Kay business, he can't really give her wise counsel. So you have to give her information, but you don't want to spend a bunch of time trying to close this person up, and then those other people have to leave, and they came for a skincare class. Because we don't want to get the reputation of being bait and switch. I came here for a skincare class, and now this is a marketing presentation, and I don't even get to take my products home because this person's doing an interview. I always want to be very conscientious of that if they came for a skincare class, they walk out and they know they were at a skincare class and they got to leave with skincare and a booking for their color appointment. But if she says, I just want to do it, take out the agreement, have her fill it out while you're closing the next person. Usually people have a computer there, or as a director, you can do an agreement on your phone now, so it's a great reason to be a director. But if she is asking a bunch of questions, go on and close up the sale and move on. And then the hostess, you have more time with her too, so at the end, that's when you say, what about you? Is this something that you would consider? Okay? Does anyone have any questions about the 4-point recruiting plan that I have not covered with you guys? I guess the best way to become proficient at it, I definitely want you to leave the message on your director's machine with your before, your now, and your future story. I want to hear that. And then pick, is it going to be a perfect start in the next 2 weeks, a perfect start in the next month? A power start, and this is something that I gave out at our training on Thursday. If you weren't there, grab one, power start ribbon. I want you to write on the back of this ribbon, when are you going to have your 30 faces done? Between now and the end of July, now in the middle of July, now and the end of the month. When are you going to have 30 faces done? Because we're now 7 weeks into the boot camp. So if you're not practicing this stuff, you guys, it's wasted time. You're not going to get to the point of owning it. And the 4-point recruiting plan, out of 30 faces, there's 6 recruits there. There's 6 new team members. How many does it take to go on target for a car? 5. In those next 30 faces, if you do your 4-point recruiting plan, even if you aren't as proficient as you're going to be in the next 30 or the next 30 and the next 30, you still are going to have team members. That's if everyone waited until they were proficient, no one would ever become a director or earn a car. Do you guys agree? Those who are on target for cars and DIQs, you had to start just starting. And then you get better and better and better. By the time someone gets done with DIQ, they're pretty proficient in doing their 4-point recruiting plan.